đó như là như chặt đau đó đấy chặt ngày nam nó cam rau như con ai làm rau làm xong xoa cũng một cam là defense đi buồn là như tạch mà mang đi bên thái là người ăn cà như là cắt thiên phải buồn buồn cho phân cả stel không cho nên là như xoa cũng ban quý cả bị rúm defense lên buồn đấy thì cho nên cà bị muốn như thon tăng lên môi đo lên cũng mấy nói như thon khơi như khơi như sợ đại chia nè industry không sọc nè như chia may như một hai vòng sau thì cho nên nè chân chặt đi defense tới hay khơi bỏ cái chỗ mũi đây nè mấy đo xong vòng sau bị qua hư ta qua xe như mang tận na thì bằng ná nè cho nên không defense lên muốn đi còn nên tụi vô dưới ngọc ký thì sang thì how to reconnaissance và đi khá thì sangในการโปรโมทบอลบินปีทางแกนนาบุยนะออกน้ำสถิติจำไว้ราคาเรื่องทางแกนนาบุยกูได้นาบุยวิธีสร้างโบว์ก็คือโปรโมทบอลบินนะเจ้าวิธีสร้างโปรโมทบอลบินนั้นตาก็โปรโมทตามวิธีสายตั้งเนี่ยนะตามในที่ตามเว็บไซต์ตาม personal ตามแคปหรือตามอีเมลตามอะไรเจ้าเกี่ยวกับวิธีบอลบินนะให้มีเรื่องนักการได้จนนายเป็นเรื่องเรียนยูมาตำหนักการที่มวยโม่บอกเรียนยูอ่ะตุ้มจุ่มจุยตักมีผลตายก็ยืนคุยไอ้เราไปโกงสอบโจมนี้เราไปมีสูตรของการเป็นปัญหานะเพราะฉะนั้นผมเอาคาเฟ่ยูไอ้เปอร์เซ็นต์ที่มีถึงเราไอ้สูความตาเปลี่ยนล้อเลยก่อนตุ้มเฟื้อล้อสูอย่างดอกฉะนั้นยงไอ้เอาดูทีมไปกวาดนะแต่ไปกวาดจับดาวแต่บอกว่ามันคุยมุกว่าไปเรื่องอะไรต่อเฉยนะมันคุยมุกว่าเนี่ยไปดูเนี่ยมุกว่า yes so thank you Mr. Dan Dorigo for your valuable time to spend with us here today so we will show you today the foundation of reconnaissance. This is the first stage in the attack life cycle. That is the very important stage. Okay. This stage is meant to gather all information about the target in terms of physical and logical. So when they gather all this information, they will compile and then they move to the next step. So if you gather it well, it means the target will be destroyed well also. Okay, so please learn how they gather those information and how we as the defender, network administrators, security in the organization detect and protect it on time. This is very important. Asking him, so today he is here to be asked. Okay? Yes. So I give the floor to you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Fenrick, and thanks for arranging these great Defense Saturday programs. First, I'd like to say thanks also to everybody for coming today. It's nice to have you here. And I'd like to get an idea of who you are. I know some of you from the Cambodia Cyber Challenge, but a lot of these are new faces. So how many of you are students? Okay, so mostly students. I'm also a student still. That's fine. How many people working in the private sector, working for government, and working in IT? Anyone? Cool. Okay. Systems administration, networking, programming. Yeah. Cool. Okay. Great. All right. So as Mr. Fenrick pointed out, today we're going to talk about the foundation of reconnaissance. The first and sometimes longest step in the attack life cycle, and as Mr. Fenrick noted, one of the most important, because this is where you gather all of the information that you're going to use to ultimately exploit your targets. So firstly, just a quick disclaimer. The tools and techniques that we're using today are for educational purposes only. So please use them only on sources that you're authorized to use. And also, where possible, for the purpose of this presentation, I'm gathering information only from third-party sources or open source intelligence sources. And what that means is we're going to be looking at data that's already been collected by someone else or through some other means. Okay? And if you guys have any questions while I'm speaking, please just feel free to interrupt me and ask, okay? So what is reconnaissance? Does anyone here have any ideas about what reconnaissance is?
Just from here, I think that it's the first step that start to collect the information by the active or passive.
Exactly, great.
Yes.
That's correct. Yep. So it's also known as information gathering, known as intelligence gathering. And as you said, it's where you begin to collect as much information as possible about the target that you're planning to exploit. And in the InfoSec world, reconnaissance is used both by security professionals, by ethical hackers, and it's also used by malicious attackers. As Mr. Penner pointed out earlier, the first step in a penetration test, or in the attack lifecycle, in the actions of a malicious attacker, is reconnaissance. So during this stage, we're going to look at many different sources of information and gather as much intelligence as we can about the entity or the person or the target that we're trying to attack. Is everyone here familiar with what a penetration test is?
I used to see that penetration is about it's like the hacker, but they have the authority to penetrate the system.
Exactly, that's exactly right. Yes. So a penetration test is basically when a company or an organization hires you to test their defenses. So you put on your black hat and you have a contract, and depending upon the scope of the contract, you attack the network, you attack their websites, their web applications, their security systems, it could be physical infrastructure, even their people. So in the phases of a penetration test, again, the first step is reconnaissance, where you gather information. The second step is scanning and enumeration. And in this phase, it's also reconnaissance. It's also a form of reconnaissance because you're still gathering information and building upon what you did in the first phase. And you're also enumerating. You're trying to understand or get, say, the names of hosts that you've been able to find during the reconnaissance phase. The third step is gaining access. This is where you actually exploit the vulnerabilities that you've identified in the first two stages. The fun stuff. The fourth phase is maintaining access. That's where you try and hold on to what you've exploited so that you can continue to maintain access into the network or into the systems that you've exploited. And the final stage is covering tracks. And this is basically where you clean up what you've done during the exploit phase and return things back to normal for the customer. So today we're focusing primarily on phase one, and we're going to touch on some tools and concepts in phase two. Okay, so if you're an attacker and you're going after a target, what kind of information would you think about gathering? So pretend you're all attackers, you're hackers, and you're going after a target. What would be the first thing? What would be the first place you would look to try and gather information? Or what kind of information would be useful for you? Without looking at the screen. Anyone? Okay, some examples of what people go after in this first stage of reconnaissance include physical security. This could be security cameras. It could be doors. It could be gates, access controls, biometric devices. That's all related to physical security. Second, you have digital. This is any kind of electronic asset that you have, whether it's files or documents, servers, sensitive directories, web applications, email systems, DNS, websites, web apps, and anything that's electronic. Third, you've got people. So when you're gathering reconnaissance, one very vital source of information is the people that actually work for your target or that are included in your target organization. It's not only staff, it can also be consultants, it can be vendors like your internet service provider. Those can also be very useful sources of reconnaissance and potential entry points into your target. Does anyone have any questions so far? No? So, as you mentioned earlier, there are two primary types of reconnaissance that we can undertake. The first is passive, and the second is active. So, passive reconnaissance means that you're gathering information without actually interacting with your target. There's no direct communication, you're not touching their systems, you're gathering information from third-party sources, maybe from search engines or from other repositories of data, but you don't have any direct interaction with your target. Active recon, on the other hand, indicates that you're actually reaching out to your target, you're interacting, you might be running queries against their systems, you might be social engineering someone, trying a phishing attempt against one of their staff. Okay, so there are some really amazing sources of information available for reconnaissance. Search engines like Google and Bing are absolutely huge repositories of valuable data. Google gives us information about hosts, documents, exposed sensitive directories, org charts, sources of information on staff, configuration information, and so much more. There are also third-party scanners, such as Shodan. Those of you who took part in the Cyber Challenge briefly got to see Shodan. Has anyone here used Shodan in the past? No? Okay. Shodan is basically, it's a mass scanner. And what Shodan does is it scrapes the internet continuously. It's always scraping, it's always searching for online devices. And it's cataloged billions and billions of online devices, including cameras, routers, web servers, baby monitors, anything you can think of that's been connected to the internet, Shodan has scraped. And by scraping, they've done port scans, they've tested basic security boundaries, and they've put this all into a repository that is searchable. So they've basically done a large amount of work for you as a hacker or as a penetration tester in terms of enumerating your potential targets. There are also some additional useful sites like Netcraft and archive.org. Netcraft is a site that catalogs information about active websites. It will tell you what software is installed, and it will give you kind of version history so you know what was installed initially and so on. Archive.org has a great feature called the Wayback Machine. And what that is basically a snapshot of a website at various points in time. So you can go to the Wayback Machine and look for Cisco.com, for example, and you'll see snapshots of the site going back maybe 10 years. And that's very useful as far as gathering reconnaissance, and we'll talk about that a bit later. So another great source of recon is social media. And why do you think sites like LinkedIn or Facebook or Twitter would be valuable to an attacker?
First thing is like LinkedIn, most people they put the information about them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
And so why would that help you? If you're planning to attack a company, what kind of information does that give you?
Just like what you know that the organization, and we know that this guy is the outright the system, and we know his name, and then we track his story, like what is like hobby or society, the activity, his hobby, so he can
Exactly. Exactly. So it's a super rich source of information that can help you if you're targeting a victim for, say, a phishing attack or social engineering. You can call up and say, hi, I'm calling from this department. I know you're responsible for this, and potentially gain access to a system that way. And there are also some great tools that we'll look at today, such as those that are included in Poly Linux, like Maltego, Nmap, Reconnaissance, and numerous others that we unfortunately don't have time to cover today, but we'll touch on. All right, so let's get into the fun stuff and actually start looking at some of these resources and how they can help us during reconnaissance. Okay, has anyone ever used a Google Dork or done Google hacking? No?
Actually, I saw that tab extension, like I'm finding the file in PDF, and I know that I want to download that book, and I don't want to waste. Sometimes, like a lot of sites, they put that they have that this book, but actually they don't have the link to download, and I want to find exactly the file extension in PDF, and that's name. So sometimes.
That's exactly right. That's an example of a Google Dork. It's basically the ability to get very granular searches using Google search operators. So as you can see here, we've got a variety of common search operators, including file type, as you just mentioned. And these let you search for things like a specific domain. You can search for all subdomains within a specific domain. If you do in URL, for example,